There are two main types of numbers in mathematics, generally speaking, and these numbers are known as the real numbers and the complex number. So, what exactly are they in excess? And what is the difference between them? Let's analyze that. So, let's begin our discussion with the real numbers. What are real numbers? Real numbers are numbers that can be represented on a number line. What are we saying next? Is they are numbers that can be represented on a number line, such as integers. Integers are negative numbers like -2, 0, and positive number like 1. These numbers can be represented on a number line. Similarly, real numbers involve fractions. Fractions can at the same time be represented on a number line. For instance, 1/2, 3/4, and so on. We also have what we call irrational numbers, something like the value of pi, square root of 2. All these numbers can be represented on a number line. And this is what we have in the house of real numbers. Combination of all numbers that can be represented on a number line. However, there are numbers that can be represented on a number line. And these numbers are what we call complex numbers. What exactly are complex numbers? Complex numbers are numbers that consist of both real numbers and imaginary numbers. You already know what real numbers are, but what are imaginary numbers? Imaginary numbers are numbers that consist of or involve the square root of negative numbers. For instance, I have square root of -2. This is called imaginary numbers. Similarly, I have square root of -4. This is also known as imaginary numbers. And this brings up the idea of a very beautiful and important notation known as I. So the square root of the value of I is simply the square root of -1. So if we are to simplify the square root of -4, we can actually turn it out to be negative square root of 4 multiplied by square root of -1, which will be indeed equals to 2 times I, and that's 2I. So that's how it works in complex number. When you have the square root of negative number to be within the numbers, then we say they are complex number. Now keep in mind, a complex number can consist of both real numbers and imaginary numbers. For instance, let's say I have, let me get some space, 3 plus square root of -2. This is an example of a complex number. The 3 over here is what we know as the real numbers, while this is the imaginary numbers. Sometimes a complex number can be purely real, and that is if this square root of -2 is 0. And another time, a complex number can be purely imaginary, and that is if nothing is here but 0, and 0 is empty. So that is if you're having just only square root of negative value. This is known as a purely imaginary numbers, complex number. Similarly, if you have 2 root -3, for instance, it's still a pure imaginary numbers, complex number. Hopefully you got that. And I believe with this viewpoint of mine, you should be able to distinguish between real numbers and complex number. Generally speaking, for review, the difference is that real numbers, its numbers will be able to be represented on a number line, while for the complex number, it won't be able to be represented on the number line because of the imaginary part of it. And that's how it works. Hopefully you find this content helpful. Before I forget, I think there's one more thing I need to add, and that is the symbol we use to denote both real numbers and complex number. So for the real numbers, just keep in mind, we use a symbol like R. However, it's not actually R itself. So this is the symbol we use for the real numbers. And for the complex number, we use a symbol like C. However, there has to be something within the space. And these are the symbols. In case you see them somewhere else, you should know what they represent. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Here's an exercise for you. Consider telling me in the comment section which of this number is real and which of them is imaginary.